Hello my dears, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be making a 1940s capelet using an old Simplicity pattern 3451, and we're going to be using this gorgeous buffalo check print fabric. So I have been wanting a capelet for quite a few years now. I've seen a lot of people with them. I've even purchased them as gifts for other people, but I've never actually had one myself. And so I did go ahead and rummage through my stash of patterns to see if I had a pattern to make a capelet myself. Unfortunately, I did not have a pattern that is specifically for capelets, but I do have this really fabulous Simplicity pattern. Now, it is for a wider jacket. It is a style that has the sleeves attached, and so it's not an inset sleeve. And as a result, I think it might actually work really brilliantly as a capelet pattern. And one of the reasons I think it's going to work really great is because of how the pattern is shaped. Now it has this nice arc for the shoulders, and then it comes down into the sleeves, and then we have a traditional bottom. We also have on the front here some darts that are going to create some nice shaping in the front, and of course on this pattern here on the side view, let's see, this is supposed to be view 2, we have this fabulous popped collar. And I think if we simply connect the sleeve section to the lower section, we're going to get a really fabulous capelet with great shoulder shaping, and it's going to be all out of our vintage stash. So let's get pattern pieces put onto our fabulous fleecy fabric and get started. All right, and here we've got our pattern pieces completely cut out and onto the fabric. Now this is our back piece for this particular style, and this is actually cut on, it is not cut on to a fold, it actually has a center seam in the back, so we have done that, left that open there. And then what I've done is I have completely ignored this section here and connected through to the arm. So this is going to help create that capelet pattern here. And I have done the same thing with the front of our pattern pieces. Now, in addition to this fabric here, this also has a interfacing or a lining for the collar. And I did think about just utilizing this same fleece material, but I thought it might be kind of fun to dive into our stash of things that we have from previous projects. And something that I found was a little bit of leftover faux fur from when we made the purple plaid coat that was inspired by the 1960s and 1970s last year. And so I thought, you know what, I've got just enough to go ahead and do the front lining of this so that the collar coming up around can be lined in a beautiful black faux fur, which will complement the red and black buffalo check plaid. I think it's going to be stunning. So let's start getting this piece put together. Now, according to the pattern pieces and the instructions, we want to go ahead and zip up this seam in the back here. We are then going to put our front pieces. They have a dart in the front center, so we will be adding that dart. And then once we have done that, we can assemble the portions for our collar, and then we can go ahead and put the facing on. But first things first, let's get this seam closed up the back. All right, now that our back seam is nice and in place, we can set the back piece aside for now and get the darts put into the front section here. So these are simple darts that are going to be coming down, and they're going to be shaping the shoulders as well as making room for the bust. So we will go ahead. This is not a perforated pattern, so we are going to need to go ahead and mark where we want the darts to go. All right, now in order to achieve this collared look that we have here in our second look, we are going to have to add a back collar piece. Because the back of this pattern for the coat is the same, whether you're doing looks 1, 2, or 3, and as you can see in the third look, there is no collar. So we are going to have to go ahead and add this piece to the back here, and that will allow us to attach the top portion of the collar once we're attaching the shoulders. All right, we have added our collar piece to the back of our cape, and so now we get to start attaching the front pieces to the back pieces. I'm going to do it one at a time, and then we can flip it around. So right sides together and pin, pin, pin. All right, we've got the main body of our capelet completely put together, and so now it's time to work on the fur collar. As a heads up, if you ever work with faux fur, it sheds terribly. I have already connected our pieces together for everything for our fur collar. So now we simply need to get it set into place. And then honestly, you guys, we just have to hem and this make is done. And because this is fleece, it's a breeze. You don't have to treat it special. You don't have to use pinking shears. It will never fray. If you were in a crazy hurry, you really wouldn't even need to hem this. I'm going to hem it to create a little bit of weight around the base, but overall this is a crazy easy make. We may have to find out what we want to do with buttons or toggles, but other than that, this make has been a joy. So much fun, so easy, so fast, which means that in a very short period of time you could go from needing something warm and cozy to wear to having something warm and cozy to wear. All right, my dears, now since we like being a little bit extra on this channel, I decided I simply could not be done with my cute 1940s capelet. Instead, I decided I desperately needed to add a waist shaping belt. Now, I have seen a number of individuals with these in their capelets on Pinterest boards and in other areas on the web, and so I thought, what the heck, I can give this a try, and I'm doing it, and you can see here, by adding in plackets. Now it is through these openings in the sides that I'll be able to thread the belt through, and I'm choosing to just do it across the front, so the back will still go ahead and flow openly and be cape-like, but the front I'll have the option of having a nice belted waist to add a little bit of dimension and just a really cute feel. All right, my dears, let's talk wrap up on our 1940s inspired capelet. I am absolutely thrilled with how it turned out. I think using a vintage coat pattern, our Simplicity 3451, was an excellent way to get the overall shape of the top of the garment without having to do a bunch of drafting and figuring it all out on our own. We used a vintage pattern and we got a very beautiful vintage inspired garment. This was a very quick make. I was able to do it in an afternoon, and I'm so excited because I finally get to have a cape, and I've really been admiring them on so many people for so many years. I'm glad I did go ahead and go with the faux fur collar up at the top. It's really soft. It's very, very luscious. And I just think it adds that dark, deep black, really adds a nice pop to this red and black jacket. I also like the buffalo check pattern. It was actually very popular during that time period, so it's extremely appropriate. And while many of the capelets from the 1940s simply had slits in the arms or in the front that your arms went through, I like that instead of that I made the slits in the side for the belt to go through, which kind of creates faux arms on the front of the cape, but the back still has that beautiful draping cape-like look. Yet this really does reclaim the waist nicely, and the little bow in the front is very, very cute. So overall, I'm very happy about this make, and I hope you guys enjoyed coming along on this journey of making a 1940s inspired capelet with me using a vintage simplicity pattern. If you like vintage patterns, if you like playing around in the sewing room, making costumes and vintage inspired garments, I would love to have you along on my journey. Please hit that like and subscribe button, and I look forward to seeing you guys in future videos. Thank you so much. Bye.